What's up, fight fans? So we got a couple of big fights coming this weekend that I wanted to give my breakdown and prediction on for UFC 235. Of course, we got Jon Jones versus Anthony Smith for the light heavyweight championship. And then we also have in the co-main event Tyron Woodley versus Kamaru Usman for the welterweight championship. So let's start with the main event. Um, what can we say about Jon Jones? We all know how great Jon Jones is. The physical gifts that he has, especially that reach. He's a very smart fighter, very intelligent, comes from a great camp of strategists and game planners at Jackson and Wink. Um, and I mean, there's not really many weaknesses you could. Anthony Smith's camp say they found some weaknesses in his game that they can exploit, and we'll see. He's great all around, great on the ground, great standing. In my opinion, what Jon needs to do in this fight basically is be Jon Jones. Keep the fight at a distance, using that long reach, pepper Anthony Smith from the outside. In some of Anthony Smith's past fights, you'll notice that he doesn't do well when the fight is sort of a chess match from the outside. He'll get caught a lot. He'll get run into a lot of shots. So I think Jon, using his long reach, jab, using kicks, that front kick that he uses, those oblique kicks, that come from the side. I think just keeping Anthony Smith at range, I really think he picks him apart and beats this guy up. And then that could always open up his takedowns if he wants it as the fight goes on. For Anthony Smith, I think the keys for him is one, you gotta press the action. He has to get inside on Jon Jones. He's got to make this fight a fight in a phone booth. And the way he's got to do that is he's got to press. When he attacks, he's got to make sure that, especially when you're fighting a tall, rangy guy, as a shorter fighter myself, I was always taught if you're going to go in on a guy taller than you, you have to go all the way in. And then if you're going to stay on the outside, you have to make sure you're completely out of range. So Anthony Smith needs to, when he attacks and starts throwing his combinations, he needs to just press forward, go all the way in, shoot, go quickly, straight in on Jon Jones, and get on the inside of that reach so that he could start opening up with his short punches, elbows, and knees, which Anthony is very good on the inside. He's very good. He's very creative. He works the whole body. When he's on the inside like that, his attacks are very varied. So he needs to get in that position. The difficult part about that is going to be Jon likes to throw those straight kicks, those straight front kicks coming at you. So, and also the roundhouse kicks and side, the oblique kicks. So Anthony's going to have to try to use his vision to time that as best he can. When he attacks, he may need to attack, step off the line to avoid that kick, and then go straight in and just open up with his combinations. I think another key is at the end of those combinations that I'm calling for him throwing, I think he should end the combinations to the body, not to the head. Jon Jones does a great job of fighting big, and he knows how to keep you with his hands outside of punching range. So, in my opinion, the goal wouldn't be to finish upstairs. The goal would be when you go in, throw your combinations, finish with something to the body. Change level, finish with something to the body, whether it's a kick, a punch, but go downstairs. And the third key to me would be to win the kicking battle. Anthony Smith does possess good kicks. It's going to be interesting who sets the tone in terms of the kicking battle. I also think, kind of switching back to Jon Jones a little bit, talking about this same thing, one key for him would be to go to the legs and body of Anthony Smith. We've seen Anthony Smith actually get knocked out before with a body shot. So I think whoever wins that kicking battle is going to be interesting. It's going to help set the tone for the entire fight. Overall, I have to say, I think that it's hard for me to pick against Jon Jones at this point. He hasn't really given me a reason, shown any weakness for me to pick against him. And while Anthony Smith does have a lot of experience, he's got 44 professional fights. I think it was something like 30 amateur fights. Um, I just don't know if he's gonna be able to get on the inside the way he needs to against John. One of the things John does so well is when you attack him, his defense, he doesn't go into a shell. And when you think about this, is very smart for a guy who has like an 84 or 86 inch reach, which he'll have 8 inches. He'll have 8.5 inches on Anthony Smith, by the way. What John Jones does is he'll put his hand straight up like this. So as a person attacks him, he'll throw his hands up like this, which sometimes may not look like an intelligent defense, but when you think about it, it's brilliant. If I have an 8-inch reach advantage on you, and you're trying to throw punches at me, and I am just putting my hands up, you are literally not going to be able to get close to your target. Whereas if I shell up, now all of a sudden, I'm allowing you that distance. I'm allowing you to get that close. So John says, no, I'm not even going to allow you to get there. You start punching, I do this. I cover with my shoulder, I cover my chin with my shoulder, my other hand is here, and my long hand, my jab hand, my lead hand, is all the way out. You can't get on the inside of that. I'm not allowing you. I could move with you. I'm not allowing you to get on the inside of that. It's a really smart defense, and I just see John Jones taking this one. I don't really know how. Maybe it could be a decision. He just beats him up for 5 rounds. But I definitely think John Jones takes this fight. So to the co-main, first I want to start with Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley, very intelligent fighter. I think that's one of the things that's underestimated about Woodley the most is his intelligence, his ring IQ. Very intelligent fighter, possesses great skills. I love his feint game. He's very good with his feints, throws a lot of them. Obviously, we know he's powerful. We know he's a great wrestler. So in this instance with Kamaru Usman, what I would say is I think that Woodley needs to use his feints, bait with his feints, and then explode with those strikes. The reason why I say that is because Kamaru Usman has a tendency of when he throws punches, he doesn't recoil. He throws and then he drops straight. So he throws his arm and then he drops. He'll throw a jab and then he'll drop it. If Tyron can feint him, cause him to throw one of those shots, and as he's dropping, rather than recoiling, Woodley can feint, boom, and then come over with his. He'll be open. He'll be open in those instances. That should be there all night long because it's a tendency that Usman has. I think Woodley's overall explosiveness would cause some problems for Usman. And my only suggestion to Woodley in his camp, I would like to see him use his left hand more, almost as a standalone weapon. We know his right hand is one of his big weapons, but I would love to see him get creative with using his left hand as sort of not just a means to an end, but as an end in itself, and just really get people thinking. Because he has power in both of those hands. And obviously we know on the ground, he's a jiu-jitsu black belt as well, so he can handle himself on the ground. Usman, wrestling is his main strength. He's got a suffocating style. He really just stays on top of you, and he sort of grinds you out. You know, he's physically strong. He's a physically strong guy. My thing with Usman, I just got to be honest, I'm not sure if he's really better than Woodley in any specific area. If I look at wrestling, if I look at striking, if I look at jiu-jitsu, just any different area of the game, even where Usman is strong, I'm not convinced he's better than Woodley. For his wrestling, for example, he's got good wrestling, but as I watch him, I'm not sure his wrestling is as good as Tyron Woodley's. Also, another thing about Usman is I find him to be a little slow. And I think in the stand-up game, I think Woodley's going to be able to see those punches coming. Those punches come out at a, pretty slow. Even his straight punches, oftentimes, they're hooks, but even his straight ones, they're not really that fast. And again, I go back to Woodley's explosiveness being an issue, where I think he'll be able to pull on some of these shots and then land his own. And again, going back to that fundamental flaw of Usman, the punching and then the dropping, as opposed to recoil. So overall, guys, this weekend I have Jon Jones winning. I'm gonna go by decision. Maybe there'll be a late stoppage, but I'm gonna go by decision. I just think he beats Smith up 4 or 5 rounds, and I think it's gonna be convincing. And I think Tyron Woodley. I'm gonna say Tyron Woodley wins by stoppage. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say in the 3rd round. So those are my picks, guys. Those are my breakdowns. So definitely we will see you on Saturday, and I hope you guys enjoy the fights.